Yay! Thank you, Calvin, so much for meeting me via Zoom.
Yes.
I appreciate you accepting the nomination for Artist of
Yeah.
the Month this month. We're so looking forward to get to know a little bit more about Calvin. I, for personal reasons, would like to start off with the question of who was Calvin as a little boy? I want to know a little bit about your childhood. Have you always been cool, calm, and collected?
My mom would tell stories about I was kind of a little bit of a hypochondriac. I was really not into dirty things. Uh, I I but I also love to play in the dirt, so who knows? Yeah, I remember I grew up in Orlando, Florida as a child, and then moved to Virginia for a couple of years, and then finally relocated to Olathe, Kansas. And I loved to garden and paint and knit, and eventually, my friends decided that I had a good singing voice, and then I was forced into choir and handed instruments and fell in love with sharing music and being around people. So it's kind of a gradual thing, but I've always just loved I loved experiencing life and tasting new foods and smelling flowers and beautiful things.
That's awesome. Have you always wanted to be a creative then, or an artist?
Yeah, I wanted to be a painter first. For several years, I really got into like painting sunsets and skyscapes and gardens and flowers. And like as a young person, really saw a future in the visual arts. But um, I discovered as a preteen that that meant that you spent many hours alone every day, and I'm more of an extrovert, I think, or at least I was, and that didn't really work out for me. But music meant that I was around people all the time, so I loved that part.
Yeah, a little bit more collaborative,
Hmm.
collective. Well, I know that you write poems. So did that also kind of happen around the same time, or did this kind of sort of come after?
I think my poetry is really linked to music, and a lot of the stuff that a lot of the poems that were in my book started as song lyrics, and I developed them and needed more room, outside of the format of music to talk about factual things or carry on a narrative. And so the poetry is kind of a byproduct of songwriting.
That's really cool. Do you mind telling us a little bit about your book that you released?
Yeah, it's called Every Good Boy Does Fine, and it is kind of a journey. It starts and from like this very picturesque idea of the American dream, and kind of goes through what has been my experience with that American dream and what that dream could look like for me, and goes through things that happened to me in my life all the way to the future and what I hoped for my life to become. So it's kind of, it's like maybe it's not a memoir, but it's just kind of like little vignettes and thoughts and things that I've been thinking about over the years, and encouraging people who have gone through what I've gone through to take a step back, and or similar moments, to take a step back and think about that, reflect on certain things, or maybe tiny milestones that we didn't really take time to celebrate, as well as to kind of give a picture to people who are totally different from me and have a different experience, and kind of show that even though we might have different experiences, that there's something very universal just about being human. And so on one hand, the book might feel like it could be divisive intentionally, but actually, I'm trying to invite people into my experience.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I've gotten the chance to read a little bit about it.
Oh, cool.
It kind of makes me feel all sorts of ways, honestly.
Yeah.
Which I think you pointed perfectly as sort of your intention is to,
Yeah.
to be a place for people to feel. Sometimes
Hmm.
we forget that just feeling in itself is incredibly valuable, regardless of what comes up. Just to feel
Yeah.
one of our feelings is a beautiful thing for humans. I want to talk a little bit about our TED Talk.
Hmm.
I had the honor of being able to watch the TED Talk live.
Mm.
I was in the audience and I knew you were going to be playing. So I wasn't like super shocked when they were like, Calvin Arsenia is going to be. I was like, okay, cool, cool, cool. And I've seen you play before and just be an expression of yourself, but this TED Talk felt different.
Mm.
Um, I felt like you were really connected to the music that you were playing so deeply. I was just in it with you. I was in the journey the whole time. When the song Scars and Stripes came on, I just bawled. I
Yeah.
was like, oh, why am I opening up all these valves inside of myself?
Mhm.
And I think it's because of you, it's a reflection of you being in tune with that song. You said a little bit about what the song meant to you at the TED Talk. Do you mind talking a little bit about that with us for Heartland Song Network members that weren't there?
Yeah. So Scars and Stripe was a song that was originally written to be a part of the film for the West 18th Street Fashion Show, Summer in Hindsight, which was released at the Southwest Boulevard Drive-In in October of 2020. And we did that. We filmed in August and put that film out in October. And that chorus, "Scars and Stripes," had been kind of like, like a little marble in the drawer of my mind, and rolling around in there. And I had so I guess 2020 and the pandemic allowed me to have time to reflect on so many things that I hadn't ever given time to, and in particular, the death and killing of George Floyd spoke to me in a very specific way, and maybe not in the way that is most expected, which would be like just being frustrated and reasonably so about police violence, but I tried to deal with the crushing weight of the footage of the protests and things coming out in social media at the time where there was no way to escape that. And so I didn't want to escape it though. I didn't want to turn away and pretend like it wasn't happening. I wanted to engage with it, but figure out a way to find beauty in it. And and so I started to research my family history and where I come from for the first time in my life, and discovered relatives that are just incredible, and ancestors that I know that I can call on now for help and inspiration. And I didn't have that before. And I feel like the erasure of the stories and the family history of Black people is very intentional. And that happens in many, many methods. And I feel like I spent my younger and formative years learning about Bible history and not my own. And and so I have now since committed to learning about where my people come from and who made me. And it has been, I'm just starting still, but it's been an incredible experience. And so Scars and Stripes, I guess I feel like, when I'm writing songs, it's like, there are so many incredible songwriters out there. I don't feel like I'm by no means the best songwriter, but when I'm writing songs, I'm thinking like, is there a song that embodies this emotional feeling that I'm experiencing right now already out there in existence, or do I know about it? And if I don't know about it, and if I can't find it, then I have to write the song. And I felt like there was a song that I needed to acknowledge the brutality of America against African American people and the enslaved population and all of the children and grandchildren and great grandchildren of the enslaved population of America. I am one of those people, and so just to acknowledge and feel seen um, and to know that it has been hard and it is continuing to be hard, and also that there is hope, and that some of the things that America claims to stand for and has yet to actually stand for are things that are worth aspiring towards, and that we, if given the opportunity, a real opportunity to change the future of this country, I think we should take it, and to make it into the thing that America claims to be, which is full of liberty and justice and kindness and provision. But that has yet to be seen. So yeah, that's what that song means to me.
It's a beautiful song. for all the people listening, if you haven't heard it, is it on Spotify or is there a place that people could listen to it yet?
I would say just the TED Talk was probably be the best place to go. But a version of the song is going to be released on my next record, which will be out on June 23rd.
Mm. So do you find yourself wanting to be more in presence when you're creating music than recording it? It sort of feels like you enjoy having the song in that moment with the people. The synergy is what kind of builds you. Um,
Totally.
maybe
Yeah,
that's
I always am creating with the audience in mind. And some people have discouraged me from that, saying like you should just do what makes you happy. But I'm like, well, what makes me happy is communicating effectively. So so what makes me happy is feeling like I've actually been seen. And so I have to think of the audience in mind, with if that's my desired result. And so, yeah, thinking about how I can provide a space and a time in which we can feel safe to express and feel those emotions is a dream come true. And one thing that I feel like a lot of work that particularly deals with social justice, a lot of it feels very angry, and again, justifiably so. That is not a place that I feel safe um, expressing myself all the time. It is not a place that I like going to. So where is a place that I can reflect, because fear and anger to me feel close, and and when we are in a place of fear, I don't think that we make the best decisions. And so I want to be, finding a place or making a home, carving a space in my own heart where it can breed proactive and brainstorming and or proactive behaviors and brainstorming in ways and solution focused. And so that song and others that I've written kind of are to that end, to be able to create a headspace where we can create solutions.
talking about home. Do you feel like Kansas City is going to be your home for a while? How does that look like to you?
I think Kansas City will always be home, or at least a home. I do sometimes find it frustrating to be from here. If I may speak candidly, as a musician who has a lot of aspirations, I think the music industry is kind of caught in a tailspin in Kansas City because we don't have enough geographical places for people to tour like immediately from here. Um, so so I think geographically we're just not in a great position. Like on the East Coast and the West Coast, those places you can tour within 2 or 3 hours. You're in another metropolitan area, and that's just not the case for Kansas City. Um, but I think that there are so many beautiful and generous people and lots of interest in the arts and desire to support the arts um, and um, and so I do love it here, but I could also just keep traveling and being around the world. I miss Scotland so much, and I'm planning to a trip there this year. And but Kansas City has this like charm and this this place in my heart that is full of love and my friends and parts of myself that I love too, that was developed here. And yeah, Kansas City will always be home, but I also love to travel.
Yes, I totally agree with that. I think I'm in a place where I'm like, okay, I'm ready to maybe go somewhere else that has more nature. Just because,
Mhm.
it's kind of hard to find nature unless you're driving 30 minutes outside of Kansas City.
Yeah, and even the nature that we do have here is either very hot or very cold, like most of the year. But
Absolutely.
but this springtime, we've actually had a spring, which is so nice.
Yes, I'm
Um,
literally considering just coming back for the springtime and having, like maybe a little cottage somewhere.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I'm glad that you're opening yourself up to other things and considering Kansas City, that force behind, or what do people
The
say?
wind beneath my
Wind.
wings.
Yes. I feel like that's Kansas City for many people. And we have some work to do, which is literally why Heartland Song Network was created, is to
Mm,
be able to help people like yourself, people who are in the place of I'm ready to take the next step. I just don't necessarily feel like the tools are right here. It's like we
mhm,
want to bring all those tools to Kansas City because you are showing us that we have incredible talent, and the last thing we want to do is not have the availability to provide these tools for the musicians that deserve it, that want
mhm.
to take that next step.
Yeah.
I do want to give you a little bit of space and time to maybe talk about your new projects that you have, where
Mhm.
we can see you next, hear you live next, which is literally incredible for the people who haven't seen. I mean, like, be ready, have tissues. But yeah, talk about that. And then also, I want you to give our young artists, songwriters, musicians a tip. Whatever tip you wish you would have had when you were young, songwriting, going out there with the gigs. I want you to share a tip for all those people.
Yeah. Well, my new record, Paradise, is coming out June 23rd, with a grand debut happening at the Emerald Theater, which is in Kansas City, Missouri, in the West Bottoms, above Ninth and State. So we'll be having tickets are being released on May 19th. I'm sure this is coming out after that, um, but they should be available now. There's only there's only 120 tickets per night, so make sure that if you want to come, that you get them soon. Me and my creative team are creating a world in which this album exists. That is the amalgamation of heaven and the Garden of Eden. And in this world, there is no shame, though. There is no rejection. And Adam and Eve were never cast out of the garden. Um, so I am very excited about that and about the music and the world that we're creating for that. And advice for songwriters. Yeah, I think that I started playing the harp because I wanted to sing to harp music. Um, and I couldn't necessarily find a harpist who was available for me. I create these shows that are full immersive experiences because those are the kinds of shows that I like going to. And so, if there's any advice that I would give for creating a satisfying career as a songwriter, is to create the experiences and the songs that you need, and that by serving yourself in that creation space, that you will ultimately serve millions.
Clap, clap. That's beautiful. Thank you so
Yeah,
much, Kevin. Thank you for meeting with Heartland Song Network today. It's been such a joy. And like I said, I hope that we can continue this conversation in the
yeah,
future.
absolutely.
I used to think love was a solution.